Good morning, good morning, good morning. You know what today is? It's Monday morning chats with Sack. Sack is me. I hope that you guys had a good weekend. I had a eventful weekend from going to a concert this past Friday, a gospel concert, out to dinner, then having a kickback at my house. It was a fun time, just a great time. And then church and going to the sports bar to watch the game. Unfortunately, my team did not win. But that's a different story for a different day. But I had an overall good weekend, right? I had an overall good weekend. And I look forward to this week because my birthday is tomorrow. So I just look forward to celebrating that and just really been in reflection of this past year and just being grateful for things to come. And I'm grateful for the things that I have now. And I'm grateful that I know I'm going to get other things. And I'm hopeful for those things. So my pastor, he's in a series called What's Going On in Your Head. And it talks about like your negative thoughts and your positive thoughts and how those things and trauma can really shift your perspective. And I just started to realize that, hey, bar exam results are being released. And I have bar mentees that took the bar in July. And I'm not sure if they pass. Usually if you pass, you're telling everyone. Usually when you don't pass, you are quiet and you don't say much. And so this goes out to anyone that, let's say you're taking a test and you're unsuccessful, right? Or let's say that you're working towards something and you feel like you're not as successful. This message can be for you. There was a article that I was partially reading, and it talked about how not all wounds are visible. And I had to finish reading it once I'm done this live. And so when I think about that, not all wounds are visible. You have anger, you have depression, you have stress, you have anxiety, you have guilt, you have shame. Those are things that when you see someone, you don't know if they're battling with those things, right? You don't know because you can't see it, right? It's easy for someone to put on a smile, had the best attire on, and although they look well put together, they may be dying on the inside and you may not know. It's easy to be around your friends and say, hey, I'm doing well. I'm doing fine. And I found myself sometimes asking people, well, give me the long answer. Like, how do you really feel? All right, how do you really feel? But I realized to determine how people really feel, sometimes it's the feelings that they have when they're by themselves, right? Whether they're by themselves in their home, whether it is in a particular room, or when they feel like they're in isolation. How do you really feel? Because it's easy to be well put together, but you're at home crying every single day for whatever reason. All right. So the bar exam results, most states they're pretty much being released as we speak. Maryland was just released this past Friday. I think the District of Columbia, they're going to release their results by the first week of November. And I want to encourage those students that were unsuccessful. For those that don't know, for those that are not lawyers, taking a bar exam is hard. It's not something that's just so easy. While some people can just get it, you have some students that do struggle with it. I was one of those students. And now that I'm in a space where I passed the bar, I like to help students get over that hump. And I tell them, I said, all you have to do is just trust me. Like, all you have to do is just trust me. Will I be hard on you? Absolutely. But do I want you to pass? Yes. And so I can just imagine you're preparing for this exam and you're being optimistic that you will pass. But what happens, whether it's a bar exam, whether it's something else where you are preparing for something and you're not successful? Or let's say that you are preparing, I don't know, let's say you're preparing to be a better person, so you could be a better mate to whoever you with or your future mate. And then when you get there and you try, it's just not it, right? And it just doesn't work out as planned. And so sometimes you have to sit with those thoughts and ask yourself, did I do the right thing? What did I mess up on? What can I do to change? Am I a failure? And it's all these negative thoughts that come about because you question who you are based on some type of result. All right, based on some type of result. I can only imagine how law students feel when they get their results and it says that they're unsuccessful. Because when you look at bar exam results, it doesn't say successful or unsuccessful. It says pass or fail. And I can tell you that that F word is very triggering to a lot of folks. Because this idea of fail to most people is that I'm not good enough, right? I'm not good enough. I did something bad. Dr. Spirit, she's on, I'm not sure if that's her real name or that's just like her social media name, but she's on Instagram and she did this, she was a guest on this podcast called Harley Initiated. And it talked about forgiveness and relationships. But she posted something last week and it said that we are taught that we had a failed marriage or we had a failed relationship. So when things don't work out, we deem that as failed. But honestly, those things just came to an end. And it's something similar to when you're taking a test. You didn't fail. You concluded the test and you just didn't get the results that you wanted. But I know how that makes you feel from a psychological standpoint. You have all these thoughts going in your mind. You're questioning if you're worthy. You're questioning if you're good enough. And I'm here to tell you that you are, right? You are. No one doesn't understand what it means to be unsuccessful in something, whatever it is, until you go through it. Now, you can have empathy for a person, but you don't know how it truly feels until you go through it, right? A loss of something. My aunt is funny. I'm very open with it now, and I'm not shameful of it. So my aunt and I, we went out to dinner Friday, and she said, "Do you regret getting an abortion?" She asked me, she's like, "Do you regret getting that?" And I said, you know what? At one point, I somewhat regretted it, but that pregnancy would have came to an end, right? So the baby was growing in my fallopian tube. It's called ectopical pregnancy. So I would have had a miscarriage anyway. And I told her, I said, honestly, I don't think I could have mentally prepared myself for a miscarriage. But it was easier for me to make the decision to abort, to come to an end. And just because it came to an end, it doesn't mean that I'm not hopeful that that would not happen again. And that just goes to those that sat for the bar, that's just unsuccessful, that although you prepared for a test, you got the results, it came to an end, you're not a failure, because failure means not to try. You tried something and it did not work. Now I pray that you have the courage to go back and try again. But I'm trying to get to your mental space where you are questioning yourself. And I'm here to tell you that you are worthy. We had a faculty meeting, I want to say I think it was last semester. And we talked about helping those students that were unsuccessful in the bar. And some of my colleagues could not relate, right? They didn't know what to say to a student that failed the bar. They didn't know what to say. They're like, I can imagine that it's hurtful. I can imagine that they're feeling all these things. But it's all about, can you have empathy for the person, even if you've never been through that? And I can honestly say that some people don't. So it makes sense that some people do hide their unsuccessful moments to their self. because they don't want to be judged. And they're not sure if they're going to be heard, right? They're not sure if they're going to be heard. But I get it. I was there, right? I remember when I took the bar exam for the first time and I fell, and I felt like my life was just crumbling down, right? Here I am helping people in my study group with the bar exam, and they all passed and I didn't. And it was just a matter of, am I worthy to be a lawyer, right? Am I worthy of this? I struggled getting into law school. I had a high GPA, did not have good standardized test scores or LSAT scores, and I kept questioning these things. But if you see me, you will never think these things, right? Since I can remember, I always dressed up, right? I was called like the fashion person from middle school. My middle school was like a fashion show. Everyone dressed nice, right? Everyone. Well, majority of us dressed nice. High school, that was my thing. I love heels. Like, I always been really girly. At one point, not so much, because I'd rather wear like my Air Maxes, but going into high school, very girly. Like, I rarely wore sneakers. Like, I wore heels all the time, and I kept my hair done all the time. And so from appearance wise, I look well put together. Had a nice trench coat, you couldn't tell. But on the inside, after I found out I failed the bar, I was dying in the inside. And it was so hard for me to explain that to someone. I was dying on the inside. I didn't have a job. I didn't have my own place. I was depleting my savings. Like, I was just all over the place. I tried to date, and I realized that I can't do this, right? I can't do this. And so I felt this brokenness, right? I was broken, but if you look at me, I look very whole, and I wasn't. And so for those that are going through this, where you are questioning who you are, I just want you to know that I've been there, right? But there's light at the end of the tunnel. It's light. I just hope that you don't give up too fast after getting your unsuccessful results, right? I just hope you don't give up too fast. Let's say you had a relationship that came to an end. I hope you don't give up too fast, because love is on its way again. I hope you don't give up too fast when you have a job that you really like, and let's say that you try to do your best and it was just not enough. Let's say you got laid off. I hope you don't give up too fast, because that next job is on the way. It is on the way. So it's easy to dress up and it's easy to look good. But when no one's watching, how do you really feel, right? I can tell you that how I felt, I kept it together. I would go have Sunday dinner with my aunts and uncles and my cousins. And I'm like, hey, how's it going, right? They try to give encouragement, but they didn't know what to say. But when I get home, the tears, I felt my studio was a safe space for me. I was able to let the tears come down. And my pastor, he talked about this yesterday in church, and he talked about how a lot of times it's easy to have these negative thoughts, but you should change it with "but" and have a positive thought to follow, right? Although I failed the bar, and although I had these unsuccessful results, but it made me closer to God, right? And I'm thankful that I failed, because had I not failed, I don't know where I will be spiritually, right? Now, I shared this in a past live that I'm grateful for my church in Michigan, my one of my home churches in Michigan, because I rededicated my life to Christ there, and it really set the trajectory of my spiritual walk. And so when I moved to Maryland, I was searching for churches, right? Searching for churches to call home. And I eventually found one, New Simons Baptist Church. And that church came when I needed Christ the most. I remember trying to find different jobs. And I remember I applied to be a judicial clerk, and I applied for the probate court. Never forget this interview. And what I did not know is that the judge was my soror. And so I applied, and she said, she looked at my resume and looked how my bar results were pending, and she realized that math wasn't mathing. And she said, wait, you graduated in January 2023, January 2013, but you're about to sit for the bar exam in 2014. What happened? And I was like, I failed the bar. And I cried in that interview. She was like, it's okay. And for the first time in that journey, I met someone that has been there. And so they know exactly how I felt. And she said, I've been there. She said, I failed the bar 4 times, but I'm a judge. And you will sign that same book. And so I'm like wiping the tears. I'm like, I never cried in the interview. Like, I'm wiping my tears. And I remember her telling me, she was like, I want to hire you, but I think that you're overqualified. You deserve something better. She was like, now, if you need something to, like, have money in your pocket, I could do that, but you're overqualified. You're super smart. You should apply for something else. But she's like, keep in contact. She's like, but I have a tutor for you. I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna afford this. Like, how that's like the same amount as my rent. She was like, she will help you get over this. She will help you. And that was a tutor that helped me pass. Her name was Wendy Cartwright. She was a probate judge in Prince George's County. I would drive there twice a week to see her. And all crazy traffic after work, driving there, just all type of crazy traffic. And she helped me pass. And so I'm here to say that regardless if it's the bar results or it's relationship or it's a job, and something, not that it failed, but it came to an end, I really believe that God will put the right people in your life to help you get to the next part, the next step, whatever that may look like, right? You may end the relationship and realize, hey, I'm not ready for the next one right now. Instead of that, I just need to work on myself. Or you realize, hey, I'm not ready to go back to a full-time job. I want to create my own business, right? I just want you to know that when something comes to an end, and before you throw in the towel and before you give up on yourself, I just want you to know that there's light that's coming next. But while you're patiently waiting for the light, I do believe that God does bring angels in human form that are physically here to hold your hand and walk you to the next step of your life, and whatever that may be. And so if you feel hurt right now, if you feel uneasy, if you're just unsure what to expect, all those emotions are valid. But I just want you to know, please don't throw in the towel. Instead of reminiscing about what did not go right, what did you learn from it? What did you learn from it? My bar exam journey, it allowed me to find a church, right? And so it's funny, after that interview with the probate judge, prior to that interview, I met a sorority sister, and she was like, hey, you want to come to the investiture? No, actually, I met the judge, and then she was having a celebration of being a new probate judge. And from that, I met another soror that went to the church that I started to go to, right? So everything was all interconnected, right? I met the soror that was a judge. And when I went to go celebrate her, I met another soror that went to the church that a church that she goes to. She introduced me to that. And that was a church that I started going to. And so when I was studying for the bar again, when I actually passed, when I was going to Bible study, I was going to revival. I mean, it was time. They was like, hey, you need prayer during the day, go. I'm like, you know what? I know it's lunchtime, but I need to be in his altar. And I would just go, right? I would just go. And so again, they were my angels in physical and human form. And I'm so grateful for them. And my prayer to God is that I can be someone's angel in the physical and human form, especially those that failed the bar and they just need a little push. They need more confidence and they want to look, and I'm here to help them look at things from a new perspective, because that's all it takes, a new perspective. But a new perspective starts with your head, right? It starts with the thoughts that are going on in your head to help you see things from a different perspective. All things that come to an end, or all things that was unsuccessful, most times there's a lesson learned from it. While people want to use this as, oh, this was bad, sometimes things have to come to an end, right? I'm grateful for my journey. Now I'm a law school professor, right? And it's just funny how things just work out. And now I want to work with students that struggle getting into law school so they can see me as an example and know that it's possible, right? It's possible. The last thing that I would say, I know that I talk about God a lot, especially in my videos. That's because I'm a believer of God and I do love him and I do follow him and I do trust him. And I also facilitate a Bible study. So the one thing that I've learned, and I shared this with my aunt, I was like, I can't force nobody to have a relationship with God. I can't force that. But what I can do is tell him what he has done for me, right? You may not know Bible stories, but if I could tell you my story and how he helped me, and if it was because of him, then you will know that God exists, right? So I may not tell you all the Bible stories because you may not know them. And there's some that I don't know, but I'll learn them. But if I tell you my story, you'll know that he exists. And so for those that are listening and that are believers, my prayer that you don't feel ashamed of your story, right? Every story is not supposed to have all happy moments, right? It can start off bad, but you can have your happy moment, but you just can't throw in the towel yet. And so I'm thankful that I just never gave up on the things that I wanted, right? I just never gave up. And so I just hope and pray that you don't give up, because there's light at the end of the tunnel. But while you're waiting for that light, I really believe that God will bless you with human angels in physical form. And that's all I have. It's Monday, so I would like to just shout out to all the dope men out there. You are amazing. You are great. You are phenomenal. Never forget that this video will be, hopefully, it will be posted on YouTube. I'm getting more subscribers, so definitely subscribe. And if you feel compelled to, just send it to someone that may need some type of encouraging word. That's all I have. Much love to all of you guys. Be safe, but most importantly, be gentle with yourself. Take care, guys.